Welcome everyone to today's first ever Education on Air conference. Some of you may have attended some of the 46 Hangouts on Air that educators are leading today to discuss a number of topics in education technology. So first of all, I'm Lauren from Google, and I want to thank all of the presenters for giving their time to this and to all of you for watching today.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jason Markey. I think we lost Lauren from Google, who was doing a quick introduction of our session, but that's okay. We'll continue on. We're here today to talk about what Leyden High School and many other schools are doing as far as pushing learning to the web. So we're specifically going to talk a little bit about, at the beginning, Leyden High School and a choice we made in moving one-to-one with Chromebooks, thus pushing all of our learning to the web. So I want to introduce Brian Weiner, Leyden High School's Director of Technology. He's going to talk for a few minutes first, and then he'll be joined by Assistant Superintendent Mikkel Storsley. And then after the two of them give a kind of an overview of what Leyden is doing, we're going to talk to a number of teachers in both Leyden and other places, and some students as well, and have a conversation about learning on the web. But I want to encourage you to add any questions or comments you want to the Google Plus stream if you're watching, or the YouTube stream, and we will try to monitor those and get to those as well. So again, I want to introduce Brian Weiner.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Again, my name is Brian Weiner, and I am the Director of Technology for Leyden High School District 212. And Mr. Markey asked me to share a little bit of information about what we're doing at Leyden. Hopefully all of you can see my screen at this point. Leyden High School District 212 is a two-high school district right next to O'Hare, outside of Chicago. And we are very excited that next school year, in 2012-2013, we are going one-to-one when we issue a Google Chromebook to all of our 3,500 students in the district. For those of you that are not too familiar with the Chromebook, it is a laptop running the Chrome OS operating system, which basically provides you with just a browser. But the speed, mobility, the Chrome web apps and extensions, the security of the device, and the ability to sync to the cloud was very attractive to our district. Probably the most important, we were able to consider the Google Chromebook for our one-to-one initiative is because of a question we asked our teachers back in September of this school year.
Hi, everyone.
We asked our teachers that when you have students working on computers, what percentage of the time are they working on the internet or web-based tools? And as you can see from this graph, we have more than 65% of our teachers telling us that more than 60% of the time they have their students working on the internet and web-based tools when they're on a computer. We have teachers doing a variety of different things using tools like YouTube and Animoto, Storify and Themify, Blogger and VoiceThread, Twitter and Ning, and dozens of other web-based tools and applications. We also asked our teachers, when they're not using internet and web-based tools, what kinds of activities and software are they using? And we put the results into a Wordle, and hopefully you can see that very clearly the dominating response was things like Microsoft, Word, PowerPoint, Office. And this was before we really pushed the usage of Google Apps in our district this year. So if we were to go out and ask our teachers again now, I'm sure the results would be very different, as the usage of Google Apps in our district has just exploded this school year for both teachers and students. So because of all of that, we were able to consider the Chromebook for our one-to-one initiative. So ultimately, going one-to-one with the Chromebooks and moving learning to the web in our district is going to allow us to focus on one of the main goals that we have in our district, which is to improve the 21st century fluencies in our students and focus on the 4 C's, being critical thinking, collaboration, communication, and creativity. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Storsley, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction, to kind of talk to you a little bit more about a few other things that we're doing in the district.
Mikkel, you're on mute right now. Why don't you unmute real quick and then...
All right, sorry, I got it. Let me try that again without the mute. I'm Mikkel Storsley, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction at Leyden. And like I said, I want to talk really quickly about the SAMR model and a little bit of theory, not too much, because we want to hear from real students and real teachers, not administrators like me. But when you're looking at the SAMR model, and it's just a way to kind of wrap your head around technology integration. And SAMR, if you read from bottom to top, substitution, that's, you know, sort of your basic entry-level tech integration. You're taking what you already did and you're just putting it on in an electronic format. So going from a worksheet, which used to be paper, and now it's going to be on the web. Up to augmentation, where you have a tech is basically still a direct substitute with some functional improvement. All right, so you get a few bells and whistles that technology helps you out, and that's great. That's a starting point. That's enhancing your lesson. That's enhancing what you've already done. You want to get to those top two levels, the M and the R, the modification, where you've got significant task redesign. You're changing the way you do business and the way you do school. Up to redefinition, which is one of the top, or the top level rather, where you're doing stuff that you could not have done without technology, and those two things are transformative. And the reason I mention those is because we believe that working on the web and working with Google Docs and web apps, it almost automatically pushes what you do up to those top two levels. It changes what you do almost by nature, going from, hey, I'm going to turn this paper in, to publish it, to we're going to, you know, work together, we're going to put our desks together and work together, to really collaboration in publishing things and doing things in a vastly different way. It changes the conversation. It changes what students do. It gives them a real audience and just many more opportunities for collaboration.
Great. Thank you very much, Mikkel and Brian. You guys please pop back in anytime you want to add something to the conversation. But I think now we want to kind of switch gears a little bit and kind of take that broader theoretical level that Mikkel just addressed and see how it really works in the classroom with students. So we do have a number of teachers and educators and students with us right now. So I want first for them to introduce themselves, and we'll start with a few questions. And then again, if any of the viewers have questions, please just add those to the Google Plus stream, and we can address those as we have time as well. So let's start with Jason Orna.
Hi, my name is Jason Orna. I'm a teacher here at Leyden High School. I teach currently media studies and also sophomore English. And next year, and I also have experience teaching world literature and literacy as well, reading. And with me, I have Janet Garcia.
Hi, I'm Janet Garcia, and I'm a sophomore at East Leyden High School.
Okay.
Ms. Gavin?
Hi, my name is Maura Gavin. I'm a teacher at East Leyden High School. This is my 6th year teaching. I currently teach Global Studies, which is a freshman course, and I also teach psychology, and next year I'll be teaching AP Psychology. With me I have Jasmine Garcia.
Hi, I'm Jasmine. I'm a senior, and I am currently enrolled in Miss Gavin's psychology class.
Great. And in Iowa, we have a teacher and a student from Iowa joining us as well. Shaylin?
Hi, I'm Shaylin Farnsworth. I teach at BCLUW High School. I'm an English teacher. I've been teaching here for 12 years, and 3 years ago our school implemented a one-to-one laptop initiative, and so I brought a student with me to speak with you as well.
My name is Jared Drummer. I'm a sophomore now, and I go to BCLUW.
We're going to stay in the state of Iowa and go with Devin.
Hi, my name is Devin Schoening. I'm a K-12 instructional technology coach in Council Bluffs, Iowa. And this is my 2nd year doing that. I was previously a journalism advisor for 8 years.
I'm Kaylin Taggart. I'm a junior at Thomas Jefferson High School.
And then finally, we have an educator from California joining us as well. Calvin?
Hi, I'm Catlin Tucker. I teach English Language Arts at the high school level. I have for 8 years. I've also taught online college level writing courses, and over the past 2.5 years or so, I've been blending those two skill sets to create a blended learning model for my high school students, and actually took this year off on leave to do professional development and actually finish a book on the topic of blended learning for grades 4 through 12.
Great. Well, again, I want to thank everyone for joining us in this Hangout. We're excited to talk to everybody today, and especially with people with a lot of experience, both as students and teachers, in learning on the web. So just the first question for the teachers, and then we'll get to some students, and they can share some of the things that they've done with everyone watching. But just simply, why the web? What benefits have you seen by moving student learning to the web specifically? I think we'll start with Catlin. Maybe go in reverse order here.
Sure. So for me, there's a variety of benefits, but for me, the two that really stand out is the advantage of being able to give every student a voice. So I'm a big believer in the power of discussion, and yet it's very hard to achieve real-time discussions that were equitable. The same students kind of dominate conversations, the same kids are shy or don't want to get involved or need more time to process. And so by taking conversations, discussions, group work, collaboration online, it all of a sudden allowed every student to get involved, take an active role in their education, have a voice in the class. And second, students are so much more connected to information and to each other than they ever have been before. And as a teacher, we have this opportunity to leverage this connectivity to really get them researching and problem solving and coming up with innovative solutions to real world problems. And so learning how to tap into that using the web is really powerful.
Great. Devin?
Our teachers and students have really found that we are able to give students an authentic audience to write to, an authentic audience to publish their information to, and it really gives them these real things to do, real problems to solve, real solutions that they can collaborate with and get feedback from people who aren't just their teacher, who aren't just sitting next to them in their classroom. And they're able to really kind of take on these big issues and have a say in how those are solved.
Jalen?
I would agree. I think that connections is a huge benefit not only for teachers but for students. It provides them with a real audience that's different than just the teacher. And it also allows them to collaborate, critically think, and produce something that is shared on a global level. Another thing that I feel benefits students is they're no longer just the consumers of information. They also create information on the web and add their voice to the information that's out there.
Yeah, that's a great point. Ms. Gavin?
Yeah, two advantages I have seen, and particularly with technology and the integration, is motivation and organization. Motivation, just when students are motivated and engaged in an activity, students tend to comprehend the material a lot better. And I've seen them really take ownership in a lot of the assignments I've given this year. Students are living in the digital age where students are constantly moving from a laptop to a cell phone to the audio streaming all around them. Students need to be able to associate their courses using a variety of texts that might interest them in a variety of ways. There are so many web tools I've used out there that when you're doing a project or using or finding material, it could really be motivating for students to find it besides just looking in the book. Another benefit I found is just organization. I noticed teaching many of my freshmen that they tend to lose a lot of assignments. If the teacher sets up a management system on the web, they could stay organized, they can find their materials that they need, there's calendars. It's really kept my students organized this year as well.
Good. Jason?
A lot of what I have to say has already been shared. But one, it has given a voice to a lot of my students who are quiet. Like for instance, I did have an individual in the back, in one year in my classroom, had a difficult time with hearing and didn't want to voice himself. And social networking sites like Twitter gave him a voice that he did not have before. And he ended up making friends that he did not have before due to the fact that he was able to collaborate with individuals that enjoyed his posts. organization as well, and also teacher feedback. Students would create folders using Google Docs, submit their papers, and therefore I was able to give instant feedback, and they were also able to share those papers with peers and get some do some peer editing as well. It also has brought multimodal literacy in class. You know, literacy used to be, in some ways, people used to think so confined to just reading and understanding what you're reading. But now, to the point where the students can do storyboarding, they can analyze videos, images, incorporate all that, and connect it to maybe what they're reading with a particular novel. All that is kind of heightened the experience of I guess different types of literacy that they didn't know existed.
I think, you know, listening to all the teachers that are actually doing this work in the classroom, it's exciting because if you go back to what Mikkel mentioned at the beginning in that SAMR model, you can see that these are already moving up that ladder, certainly to things that are transforming classrooms. And the types of things that the teachers are talking about are things that obviously aren't possible unless you are learning on the web. So I think that's something that I know we at Leyden and obviously the schools and the students that we're sharing today are having those same experiences. So speaking of the students, we'd like to hear from them as well. So we'd like to go around to the students, maybe starting with Janet here at Leyden, and they're going to share briefly one particular assignment maybe that they use technology with, and perhaps talk a little bit about how that's different than maybe a standard project they would have done before. So Janet?
Okay. Well, in English, we were learning about the Vietnam War, and we'd watched like a movie on it, and we read a book called English. So we did a project on Themify, and it's basically like PowerPoint, but except you're able to pull things out easier. Like there's Google and YouTube on there, and Wikipedia, and it's easier to add your information into it. And it's like a magazine. So you just add the information you want into it, and you could put pictures a lot easier than having to save them from like Google and then having to download them onto your PowerPoint and stuff. And also, it's pretty interesting when I'm going to stay on actually that picture of Janet's Themify blog, because it also adds a social component to it. I mean, you can see in the top right-hand corner of each page, there's a Twitter link and a Facebook share link. So students are actually able to, or anyone viewing Janet's Themify, they can actually share that out to other people. And with Janet in particular, this actually happened right after she created the creator of Themify, contacted us and highlighted Janet's piece that you're seeing here on the Themify website blog. So it's interesting when you start to consider that audience and that's actually happening. Great. Well, thank you, Janet. We'll come back to you in a second for some more. Let's go to Miss Gavin with Jasmine.
So for our psychology class, we actually were learning about classical conditioning. So for our web tool, we use Domo Animate, and we're going to show my project. Is it showing?
Yeah, it's showing.
Okay.
And this was on classical conditioning and psychology, right, Jasmine?
Yeah, it was on classical conditioning. So it's just loading. So the little boy's pointing at a cake, and the babysitter is telling him not to eat the cake. And he's questioning why she hit him. He doesn't understand. And then she goes and says that he's not supposed to eat the cake. And so he just agrees. So he doesn't know why his babysitter said that he shouldn't be eating the cake, and his friend is surprised that he wasn't allowed to eat the cake. And so the next time he comes back to see the cake, he gets so excited, and his babysitter hits him again and tells him that he's not supposed to eat the cake. And so he finally realizes that she keeps hitting him every time he wants to eat the cake. And there he goes talking to his friend about it, and his friend agrees. And now he sees a cake and he's afraid. And so she laughs and says, "I thought you loved cake." And then he explains how he realized that whenever he tries to eat cake, she hits him, and so she's explaining classical conditioning. And so this tool we used was called Domo, and we use this to explain how classical conditioning works, and it's a lot easier to use a web tool like this than just reading out of the book and taking notes. When you can present this in front of a class, it draws more attention to the class, especially those kids who don't like taking notes. It gets them more interested if they can do a project like this on their own instead of just having to take notes outside of class and come back and lecture.
And it actually allowed them to put it in their own words. So there were students that we then went, and I posted a lot of these on my website, and they were able to go back and watch others, and it really reinforced the different terms and what classical conditioning is all about, instead of me continually coming up with the terms. That's just one activity.
Great. Thanks for sharing, Jasmine. I think that's a great illustration, too, what Maura just talked about at the end with Jasmine's project and other students. I mean, that turns it immediately into review material for the other students. So other students can go and watch that through Maura's website that she's posting those on. Or I saw, again, they can share it through social media. I'm sure several of those students, I know Maura's class did a survey earlier about how many students are using Facebook and other forms of social media to work with each other and do homework, so they can share it in various ways as well. Okay, I think now we want to go to Shaylin's classroom and Jarrett at BCL-UW.
Okay, I just want to say good job, Janet and Jasmine. Awesome. And I didn't know if you guys realized, and I didn't check Devin's student, but they all start with J's today. I have a Jarrett as well. Jarrett I have is in my classroom, but I actually asked him to come speak to you because right now gaming is a big thing in education. And being a 3-year one-to-one school, we've seen the transformation of students choosing their own media to transform their learning and showcase their learning. And so the example that Jarrett's going to share with you was not one done in my classroom, but he has some great ideas, and I'm going to let you tell a little bit about yourself. So Jarrett, why don't you tell them about yourself and while I grab your video.
Well, I am a sophomore. I was in history one day wondering how I could do more in the project because I felt that the project wasn't big enough. So I decided to do something else, something fun, something interesting, something that would get my mind going. And so I researched on Wikipedia a little bit, researched a little bit about Egypt. Then I built 3D models on Minecraft, which is a video game made by Marcus Persson. It's basically a big three-dimensional block landscape where you can free build or survive. The main focus on the game is to survive, but people have been doing so much more with it. I've seen people make actual computers into the game. It's easy to edit and make your own thing of it. This is in the vanilla version of Minecraft, which is just Minecraft untouched. It hasn't been altered in any way. And I use examples from the game and combine them with my research from Wikipedia. And I put them into this short video.
The cool thing is, and I'll let Jarrett keep talking, is I was talking to Jarrett about this, and for instance, I said, well, how could you use this in Spanish?
There is a language option. If you want to learn some more Spanish, you can play the game in Spanish.
How could you do that? How could you use Minecraft or gaming in chemistry?
In chemistry, you can build examples like I did in world history. There's also these things called potions. You can make your own potions. There's several different things, and you can just get a small idea of how things react with each other.
So once you give students that voice, that option to transform their learning and share it in a way that they choose, in particular, Jarrett didn't mention that he's been a gamer forever, and he enjoys gaming. You let them like I said, transform their learning into something that is unique and relevant to their lives. And so I just wanted him to share Minecraft and gaming with all of you.
Outstanding. Thank you, Jarrett and Shaylin. I mean, I think that's another great way to kind of depict what learning on the web means, because if you give students that freedom to choose, and I know Shaylin's classroom does a great deal of this, you really allow them to personalize their learning. And I think that's something that we hope our students start to take advantage of as well, and I think you see that with all the students here. Okay, let's go with Devin out Council Bluffs.
I'll let Kaylin speak the whole time.
Great.
Okay. Well, I'm editor-in-chief of the school newspaper, and so coming up with story ideas is kind of a struggle sometimes because we kind of have a small staff now. But first trimester, we opened up the Google documents and we made I don't know what it's called.
A drawing.
We made a drawing, thank you, of all the story ideas and color-coded which person was which, so we could see who had which ideas. And so this helps because if we're ever at our house and we need to write a story or something, then we're able to look at our story ideas to figure out ideas to be able to write about. And we also use a whole bunch of other apps too to edit and check spelling and stuff like that. And then we also write everything in Google Documents and then copy paste into our spreadsheet.
We've done a lot. Kaylin would say that the teachers have done, we are heavily into Google Apps, and so we really tried to find innovative, unique ways to try and utilize every portion of Google Apps to do as much as we can in every single class that we offer.
I think in this next question, we'll start maybe with a few of the teachers, but certainly I'd like the students to chime in as well on this. Mention just the idea of kind of learning in public and just your learning being on display for anyone to watch. And sometimes students, I don't even think, consider that. You know, when they post something on YouTube that might be for class, they might not consider that anyone could kind of see that happening. And I wonder if there's what are the advantages and disadvantages of that, and are any of the students kind of concerned about that? But first, let's start maybe with Catlin, because I think she had some thoughts on that.
Yeah, so there are a variety of advantages and challenges for teachers that kind of come from the advantages of teaching with the web. And I think one of them is, and this has already been said by people on the panel, that students have this ability to publish their work to a global audience. And this is a very, really new thing. Like, I wasn't able to do this when I was in high school. And as a teacher, that means we need to be actively showing our students how to navigate the complexities of working online, writing online, publishing online, and really scaffold that for them and raise some awareness about the fact that they're creating these little digital footprints that are going to stay with them. And what does that mean? And how can they communicate online in a safe and supportive and kind of protected way? And then because students are having these exchanges and they're constantly communicating online with each other, both for social and now for increasingly academic purposes, I think it's also important that we as teachers are showing them what online communication should look like, what is respectful online dialogue, how can we ensure that in a conversation with our peers that we're saying something substantive, that's meaningful, that's going to drive a conversation forward. And so teaching those skills instead of assuming that because they're online all the time, they already have these skills. I think that's important for us as educators to be actively teaching those skills with intention in our classrooms, along with obviously our subject area expertise.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm curious if any of the students, do you have concerns about that? That people could be, kind of looking in and all of a sudden they're seeing your cartoon or your blog post or, Jerry, your video? Is anyone in particular concerned about that? Janet, how do you feel about that?
I don't have a problem with it. I think it's pretty cool that people get to view your work because you put a lot of work into it. So I think it should be something you should be proud of.
Jarrett, what about you? You have your Minecraft. I noticed that was just a YouTube clip that you pulled up. Do you mind that, we just pulled that up and showed whoever's watching online right now?
No, I don't mind that at all.
Something too, and Jarrett, you can speak to this, but students that use the web and publish using various forms on the web understand not only their digital citizenship and their footprints, but they also understand copyright issues better than most students, I would say. Jarrett is very aware of plagiarizing or using music from other people. You want to talk about that?
You have to be careful whenever you're posting on the web because the government has been taking actions over strict copyright. If you don't know, there is a program called CISPA, C-I-S-P-A, and it's a very strict anti-copyright law. They had a couple other laws too.
So that's just one example as well, but I think they're more aware of their voice on the web.
Good. Go ahead, Devin.
I was just going to say, I think that, you know, in terms of, I know our teachers here and even some of our administration, we have a long ways to go for teachers and education systems to feel comfortable with having their kids publish as well. You know, a lot of it is because they are not publishing themselves, whether that's a blog or whether that's on Twitter or whether that's however they choose to do that. There isn't a lot of really good modeling of effective uses of that for our kids as well. And so when they're doing it, it's seen, might not be seen as something that can be done as academic in nature. It's just kind of this, you know, posting something to YouTube is not seen maybe as publishing. So I think we, you know, I know that we have in our schools a long ways to go with our teachers and our administrators to get on board with understanding why that's such an important piece.
Caitlin, I know you had a specific question, I think, about one-to-one and kind of, you know, where that is leading schools. So did you want to pose that question to the group?
Sure, yeah. So I'm not from, my school is not one-to-one. In fact, I have next to no technology in my actual physical classroom. And so I'm interested to hear from other educators who are in one-to-one programs how, because, you know, it's, a one-to-one program is going to be as successful as probably the teachers in it. And so how are you adapting your teaching practice to incorporate the technology, and what advice would you have for teachers who are new to a one-to-one to support them in, you know, shifting their teaching practices so they're not just, you know, plunking in a computer, but they're really transforming the way in which they teach?
Well, Maura, since we're going one-to-one next year, do you want to take a stab at that? And then we can go to maybe Shaylin and Devin as well to chime in, and Jason.
I think there is a big fear in our school a little bit. How am I going to handle this? How am I going to now integrate the computers into my everyday classroom? I think the biggest thing that the teachers have to keep in mind is what is the goal or what is the objective that you want the students to learn. That I want them to understand classical conditioning. So then try and find the assignment that will match that goal, whether it's a web tool that you can use or you know, another assignment you can find them. But you have to figure out what is the goal, what is the objective, and then what can you do with that goal or with that objective with technology. Whether you have them do a PowerPoint or have them make a video, then you can really figure out how can technology fit in. I think that a lot of our teachers are scared that they're going to have to change their entire grade or lesson plans, and they're going to have to throw everything away. But really, the objectives shouldn't change. The goals shouldn't change. It should be more the activities to achieve those goals should be shifting or should be changing. And not every single lesson has to change, but you should slowly begin to integrate. And you're going to see a positive feedback from your students. They're going to really be motivated and enjoy your class.
Is that true, Jasmine? Are you enjoying Miss Gavin's class?
Yeah, I think I enjoy it when we do computer work because, you know, you're not just sitting, taking notes, listening to a lecture, and that's, like, really fun, as much as I enjoy lectures. The only thing I, like, sometimes find a problem is, like, some of the students aren't mature enough to realize that this is a class, and you're supposed to only have tabs open that are for class and not have, like, I don't know, Sports Center or ESPN or watch YouTube videos. You know, it's hard, but I do like the computer idea. I wish I was here next year when they're doing the computer idea, and I think it's going to really take off, and I think students are really going to enjoy it, and I think it's going to open a lot. It's going to open technology up for schools, and it's going to work a lot better than having to carry around books and spirals and papers, and it's just going to be, I think it's going to be a really good idea.
Great. Well, Shaylin, I think you've had the most experience in the group. Did you want to kind of address Caitlin's question a little bit?
Sure. I have a few pieces of advice for people considering one-to-one or things that I feel make a successful one-to-one school. The first would be sustained and high-quality professional development, one that is research-proven and also data-driven by your students. What needs do they have? And this provides time for sharing, collaboration. Another thing, kind of going along with the professional development, schools that are most successful in their one-to-one implementations never push a teacher to use a specific program or a specific application. They allow them to grow at their own rate and find stuff that fits their curriculum and their students best. And so I think that's one thing. Another thing is the climate of the building. Does your administration, your community, your staff support a climate of risk-taking without retribution? And also, does it place trust in students and teachers? I know that Jasmine was just talking about students having too many tabs open, and I'm sure Jarrett could speak to this as well, but allowing students and teachers to have that trust and for them to build those essential skills, because no one's going to be looking over them when they're in college or the job. And risk-taking is extremely important. As a teacher, I want to know that if I fail at something, then it's okay, and my administrator's not going to punish me for thinking outside of the box. Next one is infrastructure. If you have a one-to-one program and you have areas of your building or areas of your learning that does not support the web, the students will get frustrated, the teachers will get frustrated, and so making sure that you have the infrastructure in place will help, as well as with the understanding that you'll probably have to add bandwidth, because once they get used to having those laptops, they start using other devices, electronic devices, in their learning. It's not odd to see a student pull out their phone, their iPod, their iPad, along with their laptop, and is your building ready to provide access to all of those things? And finally, my last piece of advice would be technology will advance, apps will change, things that we use now we probably won't use 5 years from now. So if you make sure that your curriculum...
Sister, go to bed. Go and rest your weary head.
Thus the prudent mother said.
Let me turn this off.
Do you want a bat?
Okay, but if you focus on that's another example. If you focus on your curriculum and the skills that students need, making sure the tech is relevant, it's not just something that you've thrown in or the newest fad, and making sure that students can use it in other areas of their life, as well as finding some relevance in it, then that's important, because, like I said, those apps will change.
I mean, that's a great point, and I think, and Jason, I wonder if you can speak to this a little bit in your classroom, because I know you've infused numerous applications a lot, and given the students choice, too, on which applications they're going to use. So it seems almost like you worry less about the application and more about just the objective of what you're trying to get across and what you want the students to learn. So I wonder if you can talk a little bit about that and kind of addressing Caitlin's question as well.
Sure. It's a shift in thinking. When I first started to work with Web 2.0 tools, my first mind frame is, of course, this is only a tool. What are my objectives? What are the skills I want my students to have? And also I looked at what I was currently doing in the classroom. Graphic organizers, working with graphic organizers, annotating, paper writing, teacher feedback on those papers. And I started working there first. And then after that, and once I felt comfortable with that, it just started to slowly kind of revolutionize into experimenting. And again, like it was a voice, it's okay if it didn't absolutely go your way that particular day, but you go back, you reevaluate, and you revise. And then you started experimenting with different type of Web 2.0 tools out there. After a while, your kids start growing and having a lot of different experiences with these different tools. And like recently, we did a social criticism in the school project, and I went ahead for all my seniors. I went ahead and I put on like different YouTube videos of several different Web 2.0 applications in which they can go ahead and tackle this. I did not personally go and master every single one of these. I went ahead, I showed the tutorials, and I allowed them to choose. So I had students not only doing documentaries, I had them doing online magazines, they were doing online newspapers, blogs, you know, things like that. A lot of them gravitated towards the documentary because they thought that was pretty cool. But, you know, they went and they explored that themselves, and they actually end up introducing it to me. You know, our kids sometimes, you know, we sell them short on what they think they can handle, and it's amazing. Once they do 1 or 2 or 3 of these tools, they kind of catch on to all of them. They all kind of work in a very similar nature. They allow you to create just a different product. And they enjoy doing it. And the day working with technology is probably one of the most exhausting days you'll ever have. You can't, you know, there is a big fear like, well, as teachers, we're going to go ahead, we're going to just make them do this assignment, we're going to sit back and relax and maybe grade some papers. No, I'm shucking, I'm jiving, I'm moving around, I'm troubleshooting, I'm giving ideas. You're constantly moving. You're constantly moving.
Good, very good. And Devin, I wonder if we can get your perspective too on this, because you work as a coach, an instructional coach, so it'd probably get good to get your perspective.
Yeah, just quick, I wanted to go back to Shaylin's point about sustained high-quality professional development. I think that's key also. I also think it's key that we don't, when we're going one-to-one, that we're not treating technology in our PD separate from good teaching. We want good teaching to be, part of good teaching is utilizing technology to do things like we've talked about that completely change the way in which our kids learn, in which they're able to share and connect. We really are trying to merge those two things so that when we're doing professional development, we are talking about good teaching, we're talking about student learning, and what's going to make that possible is us utilizing the very best tool. And in many cases, that's going to be a tool that's available via technology. Sometimes it's not. But we don't want to show up on days of professional development and have it be a technology day. It's just good, sustained, high-quality professional development is talking about teaching and learning, and we just think that we can do that better through using some technology tools.
Great. Those are, I think, some great input from everybody. I want to get back to the students. I know we don't have a lot of time left, but I wanted to get them a chance to speak to one other point. And I'll give you 2 options to all the students. We'll start in Council Bluffs. Maybe just share another, because I know we had a couple of comments in the stream about what are some of these tools you're using. So maybe in addition to the one you already shared, maybe share your favorite Web 2.0 tool if you have one other than the one that you shared. Or you can kind of answer this. This would be the other question. Because we hear a lot from our teachers, you know, we need to know how to learn all these tools. And I think Jason just kind of spoke to that. I don't think we really do. I think you guys probably figure it out pretty quickly. So I'm interested to know, do you guys feel like you need the teacher to walk you through how to use a tool, or are you pretty comfortable just picking up and choosing anything on the internet and kind of figuring it out as you go? And again, if we can start in Council Bluffs.
Well, I don't know which question to answer.
You can answer both or either one.
Oh, okay. Well, for the second one, I think it's kind of in the middle. There's some of the programs and different things that we can use that are a little bit confusing, and so for the teacher to help us learn that, it helps things go smoother. But then there's other things where it's almost more fun to learn how to do it yourself. And then for my second example, I took an economics class last trimester, and we had to create an invention that could be realistic. And so basically we made a PowerPoint, and we shared it with everybody, and everybody had their own section that they had to do. But you know, sometimes we didn't have enough time during class, and so we would have to work on it outside of class. And if we had questions and we were online at our house, same time we could ask each other questions, and I thought that was really cool. And I really like that you can never forget about your homework. You could be at home and you could just log on and do your homework from anywhere.
Great, thank you. Devin, that's pretty amazing. She never wants to forget about her homework, and she liked that. That's good. Maybe Janet, we'll go to you next.
Something else we used was Twitter, and Mr. Orna had us using it in English while we were watching Letters Home from Vietnam. And he had us, he gave us questions that we had to answer, and we just tweet about them, or we make comments on the movie, and you'd be able to view other people's comments and answer the questions that he gave us.
In order to do that, we had a double screen up, one showing the film and one showing the Twitter feed. So the students were actually going back and forth, and they were answering my initial questions, and then eventually they were asking questions of their own. And then sometimes they would ask some questions that you could not just answer straight from watching the movie. So they would quick Google them, post the questions right back. So they were researching, building empathy for the different people who who basically make up war, contribute to help out with the situation with war, like nurses and the soldiers and parents and things like that. So they were building empathy for them and things like that. So, and then also learning history, and that was all geared. Just the movie was just the initial get them going, and then the rest was self-fed, I guess, by the students.
Great, thank you very much, Jasmine. You wanna share either a Web 2.0 tool or whether or not you think we need to teach students how to learn all of these different things?
Well, I've had a bunch of classes where it's been laptop-based, Consumer's Ed, Stats AP, English. I have a lot of classes that I've done a lot of online projects for, and Wikispaces is a good one to use because it's that one's a really good one for group projects. Blogster is a really good one to use for individual projects because it's like an online poster. And then Blogger I used for an English class where every week we blog about an article, and I actually got into the habit of using Blogger more often than all three of them. Blogster works really well with individuals, and Wikispaces more with groups, but Blogger can work with both. Like you can blog something and then have other people comment on it and ask questions, and I really like Blogger over the three. And when it comes to learning how these websites work, I'd rather just learn it on my own. I'd rather have my teacher show me her example, and then I go in and do it on my own. I know a lot of students are more adept to technology than others, and they might enjoy learning on their own too. Like it might be a fun challenge to do, but for other students, it takes a little longer for them to get how it works, or maybe they don't have a computer at home or online available where they don't get to use these things all the time, and they're used to the traditional posters instead of online posters, or traditional handout notes instead of a PowerPoint online. So for me, I would say if my teacher just showed me her example and I went in and did my own, I feel more comfortable learning that way.
I would say what's been helpful for me is I learned the tool myself, one tool, and then I gave the students a model of what mine potentially could look like or what theirs might look like. And then I gave them a bunch of different options, and I allowed them to explore. But if it was a student that was their first time kind of trying a tool, they were nervous about it, I felt like then I could at least help that group of students, since I have students at all different levels in my courses. But I did give the students that are really comfortable and like a certain tool, I do allow them to use whatever tool as long as it answers the question that we're going for. So.
Outstanding. Thank you both of you. Jasmine, those are some great examples. I know a lot of people wanted to know that list, so thank you very much. And I know we just have a couple of minutes left, but Jared, I want to give you the opportunity to address either one of those questions, either another favorite tool you have, or the other question about needing training. I don't think you need much training. I'm just guessing. But.
Well, there's a lot of things you can use over the internet. I mean, we use Evernote, Dropbox, Wikipedia, Podcast, Twitter, Minecraft, Keynote, Prezi, blogs, iMovie, websites, Tumblr, Stop Motion, Photo Booth, Glogster, Google Sites, YouTube, Animoto, Extra Normal. There's just so many opportunities for education on the internet. All it really takes is a little bit of education, a little bit of creativity, and you can find a lot of things that you can do with the internet.
Great. Well, I really want to thank everyone for joining us, especially the students and everyone else, and Catlin joining us from California. So I really appreciate everyone's input into the session and joining us for the session. Certainly, if you want to follow up with me, please just reply to the stream, and I can share out any of the resources that anyone here. I know everyone here also has their own Google Plus profile too, so you can connect with them as well. And maybe we can do it again sometime. And Lauren, thank you very much for Google for sponsoring today.
Thank you. Thank you from Google to everyone that joined both on the Hangout and watched live. And please do add comments. We'll monitor on Jason's page for a little while if there are other questions that we can address. And thanks again, everyone, for attending.